Good afternoon. I'm Bryce Klontz, CEO of Nuvia Surgical. We are a Boston-based company focused on some novel solutions in visualization and access, ultimately to simplify minimally invasive surgery, make it more accessible, but also in advanced applications. If you think robotics, if you think of AI, machine learning, elements where you'd want to put multiple cameras in place to gain more data, increase safety, we've got an application for that as well. Our team has been in the industry for about 25 years or more. Just trying to get the next slide. We've been in the ORs all around the world, and we see this, and you in the audience would understand that over the last 40 years, minimally invasive surgeries have been very prevalent, very productive, but there remains a lot of issues that still need to be addressed. Surgeons, surgical teams often ask for better visualization, fewer incisions and ports, improved ergonomics, improved learning curve. It's still very difficult to perform minimally invasive surgery. Even if you have the inherent motor skills to do so, a long learning curve to get there and get proficient in those procedures. And of course, there's the capital infrastructure. Less equipment and lower cost is certainly something that can be addressed. Large market, it's growing. Those of you in the audience being at a MedTech conference understand this well, but something we've realized being in industry a long time, and I took this particular point of data from Medtronic's investment conference last year, 40% of procedures that are eligible for minimally invasive surgery worldwide are still done with open techniques. Now, there's a variety of reasons for this. Setup cost, skills and training, and as I mentioned, there's certainly clinical evidence to move from open to laparoscopic procedures is there as well. But we believe if we simplify the infrastructure, make it easy, reduce the learning curve, and make it much more accessible, that we can make at least a partial impact in helping to grow MIS on a worldwide basis. When we look at the operative table, when we're setting up the company and we're looking, okay, how do we feature this product, what we want to do, we're looking at some of these specific areas of clinical concern. To this day, and you recognize this picture well, you still, in most cases, have someone standing at the operating room table holding the camera for the surgeon. They're holding it through an additional access port, trying to give the surgeon the best point of view. You'll often see a surgeon reach across and grab the camera to give themselves the view that they want because they're working through the camera holder and a separate person to do that. There's only one camera involved. Every once in a long while, you'll have a second laparoscopic tower brought in, and you'll put two cameras in, but that's very rare. So you're really beholden to one single viewpoint, focused often on one instrument. That leads to blind instrument exchanges. If there's sharps and cautery in the operative field, often when there's instrument exchanges, those instruments enter the operative field not in view. Of course, ergonomic stress, you can see the primary surgeon in the foreground of the picture. You're well familiar with someone standing awkwardly, trying to work through their ports, and of course, lens cleaning. The tip of the laparoscope touching tissue, getting debris, that scope having to be removed from the warm body to the cool operating room air, the lens fogs, often talking to surgeons and seeing a lot of cases where at least 10 times a case, surgeons are removing that scope and having to clean it, adjust it, and manipulate and take the time to make sure that they have a superior view. The concerns are also economic. Heavy infrastructure, $70,000, $100,000 for a tower at its minimum, up to $300,000 or more. This middle picture, I talk cumbersome. We're used to our electronic stereo systems in our house from decades ago that have all the wires attached in these large stacks. Well, that's very much what we see with laparoscopic towers today. And of course, re-sterilization and repair and maintenance, the degradation of the laparoscopes that occurs over time, and the time and the staffing it takes to make sure that is the case. So what we've done, we've got a platform in mind, so we've decided to bring about a first-generation product that combines visualization and access into a single product. And I'll walk through some of the advantages of that in just a moment. So the first thing we do is simplify. So you take 60–70% of the laparoscopic tower down to a miniaturized system that involves, again, visualization and access in a much smaller footprint that's much more cost-effective. But simple doesn't mean low tech. We've incorporated a 4K sensor, advanced lighting system, an embedded lens cleaning and defogging system, as well as incorporating some of the elements that are important to surgical access and such, visible entry, so surgeons can see through the tissue layers as they enter the body, and incorporating a 5 to 12 millimeter VersaSeal so surgeons can continue to use the same instrumentation they use today. There would be no expectation in moving to our product that a surgeon would have to adopt new instrumentation or change their procedure in any regard. We're aiming to make this product for about $100. That will be at some volume, but making it for $100. Our first generation device will be disposable, though we've got a quick pathway to a semi-reposable device should certain environments require that for a variety of reasons, both clinical and economic. We do have 2 patents filed on this core design and 2 pending patents that cover the mechanical design as well as some of the electronic design that was incorporated into the product. And this results in a value proposition shown here across multiple stakeholders. In our labs, surgeons can operate completely autonomously. They don't need a camera holder, they don't need someone standing there holding the scope. They can use 1 or 2 of our devices. So you can picture a surgeon standing with either at the table with 1 or 2 vision ports in hand with 2 different viewpoints, working completely autonomously on certain procedures. Fewer incisions, no longer a port for the laparoscope needed. Less staff, the camera holder, the individual standing at the table is no longer required. And of course, surgeons find quite novel this idea of multiple camera views to take different viewing angles from different ports without having to add new incisions, new cameras, new laparoscopic towers in order to do so. Fewer incisions, our single use disposable device leads to improved infection control from a patient and hospital point of view. And of course, a lot of these translate into an economic value proposition for the hospital, not only for infrastructure, repair, re-sterilization, reprocessing, also, again, touching on infection control and being able to at least deploy that individual that stands at the operating room table and holds the camera to better use in another environment. And this also bridges to things like laparoscopic surgery as well as advanced AI and machine learning like I discussed, both from a safety point of view and a data acquisition point of view. Imagine being able to take multiple viewpoints of an operative field, take data in from all aspects of the operative field, not just the limited viewpoint that's being taken in by the single cameras used today. So we've raised $2.5 million to get to where we are today, which is on the precipice of design freeze, FDA testing and submission. We completed a pre-sub with the FDA in November, and they said this is straightforward. Your standard testing for standard laparoscopic devices, no animal studies, no humans required. Get ready to submit, and we'll be happy to address this with you soon. We've strengthened our patent portfolio and working on our contract manufacturing plan upon FDA 510(k) clearance. We'll be looking to move to our commercial aspects of our plan. So this is our timeline, as I just described. We're finishing up our pilot build and getting into FDA testing. We'd expect to submit this summer for 510(k) submission, and by the end of the year have clearance, and then ramp up our pre-commercial and early pilot manufacturing activities and look to be on the market around Q1 2021. We've got a great team, well over 25 years experience across the board. I was 15 years at Covidien, ran Covidien businesses in the US, Europe, and in Asia. Across the board, we've got technical experts. A couple of the founders were the first gentlemen to bring arthroscopic towers to the market in the 1980s, as well as a few folks who have the first 3D endoscopy patents that were placed. So we've got a wide variety of optics, mechanical and industry and commercial experience brought to bear, as well as a great team of advisors, former presidents of large companies like Smith & Nephew and Covidien, as well as serial entrepreneurs who have built 5 or 6 companies just like this and have exited and understand the path to get there. So we do not have an open funding round now, but we will be opening a round this spring. We're looking to raise around $15 million to support a limited U.S. market launch upon FDA clearance. So we'll be ramping up that investment activity here quite soon. And we think we're a great investment. We're capital efficient we can get through the FDA clearance process, build these products and get to market fairly quickly. We're novel. We've got applications across multiple specialties that we can use. Now, we've de-risked a lot of the design elements of this. Do not need additional reimbursement codes and some of the, so we can overcome some of the early commercialization barriers that some companies faced. We think we've got a great exit proposition for multiple firms, particularly those surgical instrumentation firms who have been itching to get into visualization but don't want to get into the capital equipment business. We've got a disposable instrument-like visualization solution that they can easily put into their bags. So with that, I've got a lot more information I can share in the breakout room on our commercialization plan, on our revenue ramp, our FDA planning, all of those things. So if you'd like to learn more, I'll be convening in the presenter room in just a moment, and thanks very much for your time.